And a good morning, everybody. September the 19th already. Yes. Beautiful day out and beautiful people here and beautiful people on live stream. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. And we have a special guest today, but I'm not going to tell you who it is yet. I'm going to kind of drag it out. I do want to announce that Reverend Valentine's workshops on Wednesday has been postponed for a while. So that will happen when it happens. So it will be happening, but it's just postponed for a while. So don't give up. If you want to come, it will be coming on again. Now, we don't have any children here, but I do want to, before I do the word for the children, our wonderful Ernie has brought his organic vegetables again, so thank you so much, Ernie. It's so wonderful. You get a lot of free shopping here when you come. It's great. Now, our Growing Spirit Circle for our children and our adults who are children, as we all are, the word is flexibility. Flexibility is being open to change when upsetting things happen. This can be a message that we need to do things differently or improve ourselves in some way. Flexibility means not always having to have your own way, but being open to the opinions and feelings of others. With flexibility, you are willing to change your mind. If something does not work, you try a new way. So the affirmation is, I am willing to accept change, for everything just gets better and better. So if you repeat with me, I am willing to accept change, for everything just gets better and better. Now, our opening affirmation on our yellow sheets. If you will repeat with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. With this attitude of rejoicing and gratitude, I go about the events of my day with love in my heart and a song on my lips. This day and every day I find ways to celebrate life. All is God, all is good, and so it is. That's a pretty good opening. Now we have a subject today of the talk is when the road gets rocky. And we all have times when the road's a smidge more rocky than other times. And who is better to talk about reaching higher and when the road gets rocky than our own Reverend Doug Craig, Reverend Mountain Man, and my first teacher. So, will you please bless us with your presence, Reverend Doug?
Well, thank you, Therese. My. Look at that. Good morning, everyone. And how's everyone this lovely morning? You know, I couldn't believe when the Centers for Spiritual Living selected Reaching Higher for the theme of the month. And it just so happened that this talk was the one that they had selected for today, when the road gets rocky. And even though we all got the same theme in that, you're going to hear it just a little bit different, I think, today than you would for most anybody else. So to begin, let's start with an opening meditation and treatment. So I'd like to invite you to go within and just take the time to close your eyes and get clear on the intention. Intention here is to experience the highest and best that each and every one is, and to be able to connect with them, their higher self within their self. So we go into the calm, the peace, the stillness and silence, knowing that the point of power is in the present moment. So we release the morning and we release the afternoon and spend our energy, time, and attention right here and right now. And in your mind's eye, I invite you to begin a journey somewhere in the mountains. You may be a top of the mountain person, or you may be a valley person. Either way, I invite you to put yourself into the mountain and just get accustomed to that idea in your mind. And know that any and every journey that everybody makes into the mountain, they do so to have the experience of the mountain in their own unique and special way. And that is much as our path of spiritual understanding and fulfillment. There are many different ways to achieve it, to reach it, to attain it. You may walk up to the top and reach higher, or just walk in the valleys and reach higher. The reaching higher is connecting with that spiritual presence within yourself. So I invite you to know that as you are in this place in the mountains, that there is just this one eternal life that is forever giving of itself. And that is God's life, our life right here and right now, demonstrated all around us in this mountain. So I'd like you just to take a few moments to connect with yourself and to connect with what the mountain brings in the peace and the power and the fulfillment of life as we see ourselves ascending new heights and new experiences in life. And as we are in the position of being centered, we're grateful that we have the freedom to choose our own way to seek spiritual awareness and understanding in our own time with support of those around us. So we go forward with a commitment to ourselves to reach higher, even when the road gets rocky, knowing that God is good, God is great, so are we, and so it is. Dr. Holmes, in the Holmes Reader meaning, said, "We may meet difficulties, uncertainties, and doubts, barriers walling our passage, but we must not be discouraged when so confronted. We must climb over the rocks of unbelief, pass around the barriers of doubt, and plunge into the stream of faith. The stream will ever widen, the barriers will gradually disappear. Though we walk through the plains and valleys of indecision and doubt, the stream will still carry us back to the ocean of our being." Wow. That really says it all. So at being I am a mountain man, literally and figuratively. I really enjoyed the idea of looking at this topic and sharing a few really important ideas about this spiritual journey and using the mountain as the analogy. So the first point I'm going to talk about is reaching higher, going to the alpine country. It's real easy in life to just stay in a state of mediocrity or just accepting the way the thing is the way it could be. And for us, we come into an awareness of our spiritual presence and our spiritual power, and we continue higher on the journey. Now, in the mountains, for me, you got the paths and the valleys, and you got the nice little rises, and you can do a top. I don't do many of those anymore, just a couple. But my favorite is going to the alpine country. Anytime where I can get into the alpine, I really, really enjoy the life that is there, because that's where life stops and where life begins. It's that subtle change in the mountains where there's not much above it, and that life is just right there. They call that the alpine country. And it's phenomenal. But the interesting thing about it is that beauty is beyond imagination. And it's not that down below isn't nice, it's beautiful too. It's just that that's exquisite. That's the next step. However, in order to do that, you notice that the path changes from a well-groomed trail with nice nice walkways. And then you get into a little bit of a forest and this nice cushioned floor. And then it becomes a little more rugged with roots and rocks. And then you get a little bit higher and the rocks take over the trail. And the rocks are bigger or smaller, they're slippery, they're sliding, and you have to navigate there to get into what it is that you want. So when the road gets rocky, what you have to do is you have to understand the nature of what you're working with and be extremely careful as you proceed. You take more care about every step that you're taking and watch, because that's what you need to do to arrive at a place where you can take a break and enjoy the scenery around you. So the higher you go, the more rocky the path gets. And that's like life. The more we raise our consciousness, the more the rocky the path gets. And so one of the things that happens along the way, I have people say to me, "Oh man, I'm on a roll. Everything's just going great." And I say, "Enjoy it. Congratulations. Enjoy it, because it won't last." And then people tell me, "Oh man, I've been in a slump for a couple of weeks. It doesn't matter what happens, how good it is. I don't look at it really good. I got kind of a bad attitude and these things are happening." And I say, "Good, wow, enjoy it, because it won't last." And you see, there's one fundamental thing that we can learn about the rocky road of life, and one thing that we can do about it, and one thing that we have no power over whether it's going to happen or not. We are going to have good periods, and for no reason apparently we'll seem to have periods that aren't so good. And that's called the pendulum. Anybody ever see an old grandfather clock? It goes up here, tick, tock, tick, tock, and sometimes you got a big pendulum, tick. If it goes up here, it goes tock. Do you ever notice a pendulum doesn't go tick, tick, tick? Doesn't do that. Well, you see, your emotional nature is the same thing, because the basic idea of you taking form means that each and every one of us has an energy field to support us in body. We call that our aura. Everybody knows that. We can sense that. We can feel that. And that energy field has a polarity to it. Just like your battery, a positive and negative pole. And whether you like it or not, at one point in time in the journey, it's going tick. And then it swings back and it goes talk. You can't make it go tick, tick, tick. It just doesn't happen that way. So, is there anything you can do? Have you got any control or power over this? Absolutely 100%. It's called self-awareness. And when it's going tick, be exceptionally grateful. Be exceptionally kind and considerate. Be exceptionally in a state of enjoyment of the beauty and magnificence of life, and that'll hold it up here. However, make sure you don't get smug, slack, or cocky, because the instant you do that, it'll start swinging back the other way. You can't stop it from eventually swinging back, because that's just the nature of life. However, you can hold it up there longer by doing the right things and not getting slack and slacking off on it. That's where we get in trouble. Oh, I don't need to do that spiritual stuff. Everything's going good. Anybody do that? Then it goes all to, well, the other way, hell, let's call it. And then we're back on the bandwagon again. However, here's the trick. When it goes that way, and it will, when it gets over there, one of the cardinal rules is, first of all, keep your lips sealed. Be very careful what you say or what you do. Because if you let it go, ride it out, and don't feed the beast, it'll swing back quicker, a lot faster. You can minimize the impact, but unfortunately most of us don't. We get the yak, yak, yak going, and then we throw a couple of logs on the fire, and then eventually we get so irate and uptight we can be in that state like a rut for a long, long time, because we keep feeding the beast, and it has a harder time to swing back. So we don't have control over whether that pendulum's going to swing, but we do have complete control over how we manage it. Like life, there's not a lot of just, oh, well, it's just this way. There's a lot of different variables that we got to take into consideration. So, for example, the mountains are the same way. We got to look at the weather. Weather is important, you know. You got to learn how, you know, my record for having no rain on the trail in 8,500 kilometers hiking in the last 25 years is 97% no rain. Because I study the weather 6 times a day in 5 different areas, and the same thing, and I watch the weather patterns and I get to understand them and know them. Same thing in life. You know, you got to watch the weather conditions about what's happening. Oh, we got this election. Is there a lot of storms brewing around that? A lot of opinions and things like that? Some of you know an old colleague of ours from here, Jerry Malo. It was his 80th birthday the other day, and rather than do anything, I called him up and pretended it was a personal call from the Prime Minister. Yeah, I'm bad, yeah. Stirring up the pot. Okay, and the trail conditions. So you're starting out on your journey, and you're going to go on a new career or things like that. So you got to check the trail conditions as you're going along and that's how you're feeling and what you're thinking and how you're going to deal with what's all in the new situation. And just like going out, you got to watch the trail conditions. Very important. The trail and looking down at the trail is so important because it's your footwork. You know, you got to get the right steps. What else is on the trail with you? Is there any other signs of animals? You know, looking for bear, cougar, all that kind of stuff is kind of neat. But you got to be aware of what your environment is, what you're going into. Altitude game. If you're going to go up 2,000-3,000 feet, you better be prepared mentally to deal with that. You better have a consciousness and an approach. So for me, my approach is the tortoise. Slow, meaningful, purposeful steps. I get into the cadence after the burn, and then I just keep going. I just keep going. I got nothing to prove to anybody else. I got a goal and I got a destination. And we have to do that with our journey. We have to set a cadence and a rhythm. And it don't matter what type of terrain we're going through or how tough the slugging is, we just keep going one step forward at a time and focusing in on that step. And then soon you look back and you see how far you've come. It's amazing how it works. But if you try to look at the whole picture of how far you got to go in this, you never get going. You have all kinds of problems. And again, you say, and it's always about one's objective. And sometimes we set an objective and we get almost where we're going and realize it's not what we need to do. And it's okay to stop and not do it if something else comes along, but we got to watch that we don't stop and not finish it because of some type of something inside of ourselves says we're not good enough for it. And so there's lots of variables in life to deal with, as well as the swinging of the pendulum, and the road gets rough and rocky when you decide to move forward. If you don't, you stay in a rut. And there's only one difference between a rut and a grave. A grave has ends on it. The rut doesn't. One of my favorite quotes comes from this, and it's this area. It says, "Not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear your path." So no, don't think a storm's necessarily that bad. There can be a lot of good coming out of it. So the next idea I want to share with you is another thing from the trail. The roots and the rocks are your best friend when they're dry, and your worst enemy when they're wet. They're there. It's the conditions. And it's just like life. The conditions in life are there. You walk out into a life that you may not create everything that's going on out there because everybody else is creating this life. You go out into it, but what you create for yourself depends upon what you take out there. So if you take out an attitude of exploration, an attitude of peace, an attitude of non-judgment, an attitude of confidence and not fear, and you go out there with that, then you can use that. That's like using the roots and the rocks to your advantage. You get to maneuver through life and whatever's going on out there with a minimal amount of problems in that, okay? However, when one's got an angst or an edge and one wants to blame or judge or say what's wrong with things, you know, every now and again you run across somebody, don't matter what it is, they got something that's wrong with it. And you tell them about what you're doing, they say, well, that stuff doesn't work. It never works. And it'll go about working for them by showing them how it doesn't work so they get to be right about it, you know, that kind of stuff. So what do we take out there? If we take that angst out there, then that's what we get. We get slippery rocks, slippery roots, and when we're doing that, we get hurt. We can get hurt physically, mentally, or emotionally, but we get hurt. So we want to be proactive rather than reactive. And the quote I got here for that one is one of my favorites for one of my all-time favorite books. So I say it's a must on the journey. It's Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth. And he says, if you carefully search within yourself, you may come to the awareness that your most important asset is a conscious control of your own life. Nothing else can satisfy or fulfill unless you enjoy the freedom that comes from the control of your inner world of mind and emotions. So we got the roots that are rocks that are dry or wet. Okay, by the way, I didn't just make this up or got somebody else taught it to me. I learned that one the hard way. I mean the hard way. And not once, more than once. I was a slow learner. Then the other point here I want to share with you is about this journey of going into life when we set out this goal for ourselves that we're going to work towards achieving. And all of a sudden we're on the journey and everything goes along the way. And we can't figure out why that's happening to us. There's a reason. And this point is obstructions, challenges, and difficult people all must be part of your journey or they wouldn't have shown up. So if you have a problem or a challenge or an obstruction or a difficult person, no matter where you're going and what your destination or goal is, and they're there, they have to be part of your journey because you may not have experienced that had you not have that as a goal or a dream or a desire, because you might not be doing that, you see. Just like if you're going on the mountain and you want to climb that mountain and you get started and, oh man, there's a river here. And I got to go 5 clicks down there to cross the river and come 5 clicks back. Just to go 20 meters. So a guy could whine and complain and snivel all about it you want. It don't make no difference. If you want to go to the top of the mountain, this is happening, you've got to do it. And it obviously, if your goal was not to go to that mountain and to the top, you wouldn't have experienced the river. So the river is part of the obstruction, but it's part of what you need to do to get where you're going. Happens to me all the time in the mountains. Sometimes there's no obstructions and something happens and there's an obstruction. So we need to learn that and get real clear on it. And you know, it's easy to be on the path of not doing anything. It's tougher to be on the spiritual path. Jesus said it real good in Matthew chapter 7, verse 13 and 14. He says, "Enter ye at the strait gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many of people are on it. But because the gate is strait and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, there are few that find it." Because not many people are prepared to pay the price of having to confront and deal with the obstructions that are there to get them where they want to go. Those obstructions are also going to be there in the belief system too. So it's not just the river that's there, it's what you take to the river also. Okay? All the attitude that you take there, because the attitude you take helps you either A, soar with the eagles or scratch with the turkeys. One of the two. And the last idea I want to leave you with is about the power of commitment. I always tell people that everybody is committed to something. And it's not a matter of that, it's a matter of what are you committed to. So you just look at your life and you know what you're committed to. And if you don't like it, then you've got to change your commitment. And once you make that declaration and start to do things, then things happen. This was a Scottish expedition to the Mount Everest in the Himalayas in 1951, W.H. Murray. And he said this, and I really like it. "But when I said that nothing had been done, I erred in one small important matter. We had definitely committed ourselves and were halfway out of our ruts. We had put down our passage money, booked a sailing to Bombay. This may sound too simple, but it is great in consequence. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issue from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidences, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. And I learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. And so the bottom line is, what he's saying there is that once you get committed to something and once you get started, then you don't have to know all the steps, but everything starts to come to you. People, circumstances, and situations that you couldn't ever have dreamed possible. Because that's God's job to give you that. Your job is to be started and committed. Where are you at with what you have here and now? So I'll leave you with this quote, and knowing that as I read this, it's your truth and my truth also. The highest courage is to dare to be yourself in the face of adversity, choosing right over wrong, ethics over convenience, and truth over popularity. These are the choices that measure your life. Travel the path of integrity without looking back, for there is never a wrong time to do the right thing. So I know for you, as I know for myself, that with awareness that there are no obstructions to the operation of truth within us, and we are an open, clear, free-flowing channel of the wisdom of the Spirit. And I accept this, I know it, and I let it be so, and so it is. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Doug.
We
Another powerful message, and one that truly we can use to make those changes in our lives that we require or that we desire. Two different things, both important. So thank you, and let's get on with the prosperity portion of our program. So if you'll take out your yellow sheet, we'll read our prosperity affirmation together. All that I am is a gift of God. All that I give is from the divine flow that I receive, use, and let go to nourish and sustain all of creation. In my world of peace, harmony, and prosperity, there is constant supply and constant release. I am one with the divine process, and so it is. And if you have an envelope with a donation in it, you just come up after we finish and put it in the basket over here. And I thank you. And if you're watching online, we invite you, if you wish to share your good with the center, to just drop a check in the mail or go to our website. There is a donate button you can click. And let's move on to our closing affirmation. All things have come to pass, that a greater good may move in. I am open to the process, releasing that which has served its purpose, and accepting with grace the next experience. Life is flow, strong and deep and true. I am one with that flow, trusting I let go and permit life to live itself as me, and so it is. Just join me for a closing spiritual mind treatment. In this moment, right here, right now. This is what I know. There is a power for good in the universe. I can use it. Any one of us can use it. And we make the choice to use it by controlling that which we think about, that we control our words, we control our actions in the direction that we choose to go. That is an upward direction, an onward direction, an outward direction. Each day, even each moment, we can choose to reach higher. Right now, we can make that choice to reach higher, to reach greater pinnacles of health and life and love and good. Knowing that that choice is mine to make, I do make that choice. I release that word into that infallible law that knows only to act upon it. And so it is.